Yeah, the people quiet. Yeah, the people podcast. I'm on it here to make you think and take them black to the basis. No gimmicks needed. Our melanin was designed for this greatness. Power was created, the most high, assigned to the favorites. We win as a nation, it's mutual. Young black man, you enough. Ladies, you beautiful. Don't let them tell you different. Your energy can't be shifted. Created, nor destroyed. That's a scientific fact, so opinions is all forward. This is higher learning, higher conscious awareness of self. This that undisputed, undefeated, and in the belt. This your grandma cooking on Sunday morning. Don't touch the fridge. God is good all the time and all the time. Yeah, you did. This is music for the mind. Lyrics to touch your soul. Melody for high frequencies.
On people, I know you see we have some familiar faces. We are back once again. Not really though. We back, but we not really back, man. We got a something special in the works, man. As you can see, it's your boy Jay Irv, man. I'm gonna let my man introduce himself.
52 the boss,
Yeah.
aka J. Weeks. Let's get it, baby.
What's going on, Playboy? How's everything?
Everything is lovely. Health, strength is good. Family's good. It's 100 degrees in Atlanta, so I guess that's good. Hey,
Yeah,
everything is good, man.
everything is good, brother. Well, listen, man. I know the people have been waiting for us to come back, and
Yes,
you
sir.
guys gonna have to wait one more week. We got something real special for y'all. You know what I'm saying, for this upcoming episode. So I'm gonna let my man jump right into it. You know what I'm saying. I'm very proud and very excited for what we got to bring to the people this week. You know what I'm saying. So what's going on, 52? What we got going on, brother?
Hey, man, kinfolk, my brand new stage play, Just Listen, aka What Men Don't Say Volume 2, is coming here to Atlanta, to Marietta, Georgia, August 18th and 19th. So we are super excited, elated, a long process. So we're here, man. It's time.
Yeah,
2 days
man.
away.
It's. I mean, I know you've had this in the tuck for some time, man. So why don't we, if you don't mind, man, just
Mhm.
tell the people kind of the how did this stage play come about? Like, you know what I'm saying? What brought this up, bro?
Hey man, this my baby, man. This is 6 years in the making. You heard me say it was What Men Don't Say Volume 2. And I actually wrote What Men Don't Say probably 8 years ago or so. And that featured three different characters, and it was a one-person show, just myself doing three different characters. And I always knew that I wanted to do something that had more characters, that kind of showcase a little bit more and with a little bit more deeper into issues and also something different. So I've always had the idea, like I said, and 6 years in the making of trying to put it together. I've
Okay.
been pretty much jotting notes in my notebook down for 6 years, and finally just waiting for the right time to put everything together. And as they say, the stars have aligned, and we here now.
That's what's up, man. So you talked about, waiting for things to align themselves the right time. 6 years in the making. It's a long time. I mean, I'm a movie guy, so I know some movies out there take
Hmm.
years upon years of making, man. So what about now made it the right time to just like, you know what? I gotta get this out. Like, what was that moment? You know what I'm saying? Let's talk
Hey,
about that.
I feel like it's a war going on between black women and black women, and I feel like everybody wants to be heard, and everyone wants their point of view and things to be looked at. And I feel like it's a perfect time for us to just say, "Hey, let's just talk." I mean, the name of the show is called "Just Listen," so in the title, it's telling you like just listen. And I always pictured it like for the ladies and even to the fellas, like if you had an opportunity to really talk to someone and let them share whatever it is they have to give, and just listen to what they had to say, I'm sure that any person would be able to tell you a lot of things about themselves, and I think we would learn a lot if we just listen. But sadly, we're more so listening to respond versus just listening to see what the person has to say, what's on their mind, what's on their heart, what are some of the things they experience, what's their background, was their upbringing. I think all of those things play a factor when it relates to just getting to know a person other than what you see. I mean, you can work with people for years and not know, half that you think you know about their life. So it just shows you that sometimes, man, you gotta just listen.
Man, listen, I like you said, just listen. And I feel like that can be an issue depending on who you are, what you're dealing with, what your upbringing is. You know what I'm saying? So you mentioned it, there's a war going on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Let's talk about that for a little bit because, ladies and gentlemen, this is not we're not promoting any type of back and forth. This is going to be healthy
Right.
dialogue amongst black men, black women, men
Mhm.
and women in general. So let's talk about that war. So, what's some of the things that you observed on social media, just out in the community, that just made you say, "Hey, man, I gotta get this out there." You know what I'm saying? Like, let's talk about that.
We live in an age now of podcasts. We are podcasters ourselves, but we live in podcast world. We live in social media is booming, and now everyone has a mic. Everyone has an opinion, and some people aren't doing it from a genuine standpoint of trying to, do it for a positive reason. I would say. I think a lot of times it's kind of a money grab, right? You want to be the shock jock and say something that's outlandish or say whatever. I think we're not really utilizing our platforms to understand what we have, other than just the clickbait stuff that's gonna go back and forth. And I think that creates a war because now you have women saying, "Oh man, fellas, guys, they not listening to us. They didn't need to do this, this, and this." And then you have the fellas, we saying, "Nah, y'all ain't listening to us. Y'all need to do this, this, and this." And you got the war of what's really right now. Old school mentality of the man go out, go to work, do everything, take care, everything as far as financially, and the woman stays home. Then you have now women saying, "Nah, we ain't about to be tucked up in the house like bed. We'll go get it too." And I think it's really a war in a sense of everyone's talking about their opinion, but I think the most disheartening thing is that the people that are talking the loudest about one opinion or the other, I think don't even really believe that because that's not their circumstance, right? You have, fellas saying like women need to do this, this, and this, but their at home situation is not where they're providing that lifestyle where they taking care of everything to have the woman that's going to say, you know what, I don't want to work. And the same thing, on the women's side is like you saying, "Hey, I want the guy to do this, this, and this." Is like, all right, so but what do you bring it to that table? So I think
Okay.
if you really just sit down and really realize like what works for you, and I think once we get to that, like what works for your household, you and I talk about this all the time. Like what you and Arby do is going to be completely different than what me and E do.
Right.
It's no doesn't mean that one way is right or wrong. It's just like what works best for you, what works best for your household. Some households have fellas being stay-at-home dads. You got others like I would never do that. You wouldn't do that, right? You
Right.
wouldn't do that. But there are plenty of households that do that, and I think we got to stop trying to make everyone's idea ours. Like whatever it is for me, I'm not gonna say, "Hey, Irv, you and Aubrey need to do this because this is what works for me and E." It may not, and it's okay with saying like, "Hey, that don't work for us. It don't
Right.
work for our schedule. We like to do a certain thing, and that's okay. You got to be okay with that."
So, like you were saying, man, it goes back to, having those open conversations and having those open conversations, but also being receptive and being able to listen to
Yeah.
the other gender, other, spouse,
Mhm.
girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever situation is. So, from that standpoint, man, with your idea for bringing this to the forefront to the people, um, really, what is the I'm trying to think of the right words to describe it, man, because I kind of got a behind the scenes look, so I don't want to give a lot of it away. You know what I'm saying?
What you
So
mean? What's the message we hope to
yeah,
to
like
send
just
away
because
people away?
what I think, me personally, I think this is gonna start the right conversation, right?
Yeah,
But it's gonna shock a lot of people, man. So, can you go into a little bit about that, man? As far as
of
like what
course.
what is that perspective, from this.
Yeah, from the writer, director, and even being an actor in this actual play, it is we want to start that conversation. We want to create dialogue. We want you to say, "Look, I don't agree with that character. I disagree with that. But let me tell you why." I agree 100% with this character, but let me tell you why. Like it's just really about the conversation because we're not let's just be honest. We're not up here trying to be therapists. We ain't professionals in that realm. We're not experts in what we're doing. We're just sharing these real life stories from these four characters. And our job as artists is to change the world within with our art and we're trying to make art that's going to make you think, right? It's going to
Okay.
provoke a conversation. With every character, I feel like if you don't see something personally within you as a man, you're gonna see something within something that, whether it be friends or family member, that you have experienced, that you've identified with. And that's the thing to show, like, wow, we could be from completely different backgrounds, but share some of the same experiences. And it's just really about creating that conversation. So we're not trying to say that after you see this show, all your problems gonna go away, but it is gonna create a conversation where you got to have some real dialogue, and that's really what it's about. Because if we can spark the conversation, what else can come out of that? How many other men will be able to share their stories? How many other men will be able to just talk freely and know that when I'm saying something to you, it's not going to get used against me. It's not
Yeah.
going to get brought up later. It's not going to be weaponized against me. So we want to be able to create that safe space for fellas to be able to talk. And a lot of times when people hear that, they feel like, guys trying to get soft and this and this. It's not even about that.
Right.
Sometimes your stories is not even sad. Like, it's really like, yo, I had a messed up childhood. Like, I had a fight every day of my life, and that has really ruined me. And so when people hear like safe space and things like that, those trigger words make people think like it has to be something dramatic, like when you were a kid, someone touched you inappropriate, anything like that, or you got beat almost to death. Sometimes it's just a matter of, look, I felt awkward speaking to people. I felt like I was the black sheep within my family. I felt like I was teased on because I looked a certain way. It's just really about just sharing your experiences. And I feel like when we get to a place where people can freely and openly speak their truth, you can't take somebody's truth away, regardless if you agree or disagree.
Right.
Like,
Right.
their truth is their truth. Like, I can't dispute that. And I think that's just what it's about. Sometimes it's just to learn about people and get those things. You and I are married, and you understand that there's not a time where you ever feel like I really got this marriage thing figured out, or I feel like I really know my spouse.
That's right.
There's every day you're learning something about your spouse, and it's the same thing. We evolve. There's foods that you didn't eat 5 years ago that you love to eat now, and vice versa,
That's
because
correct.
you change, you evolve. Things you like to do, you may not like to do now. So it's just really, we hope that when you see this, our job is to make sure that you're gonna spark some type of conversation. You're gonna get upset, you're gonna get angry, you're gonna be smiling, you're gonna be happy, you're gonna be cheering, you're gonna feel something where you have to balance between, do I go with what I know morally or what I feel within my heart? And I
Yeah. Yeah.
think that's a lot of the things the characters will make you challenge of, what do I go with? And I think that's our overall message that we're trying to say. Let's spark this conversation to get this conversation started.
Okay. So let me ask you this, man. You mentioned earlier that you have four characters, right?
Hmm.
Is that safe to say you got four characters? I make sure I
Yeah,
heard you correctly,
yeah.
right?
So
You-
it's two characters for me, and then my my
I was
co-star
just about to
Ron
ask
Lee
you.
McGill has two other characters.
I know you nice with it. I done seen stuff in the past where you didn't been five people on
I can
stage.
go six. Six is my max. I haven't made it past six, but six is my max. I can do
So
six.
okay, so are you able to speak about those characters, just a brief overview, and talk about your counterpart, your co-actor? I think make sure I'm using the right terms. You know what I'm saying? Can you
All
talk a
of them
little
is
bit
well.
about that, man? How did those characters come into fruition, and how did you choose the right partner to bring your vision to light?
So I've been working on a lot of different things as it relate to just myself and just me personally as an artist. One of the things that I've definitely focused on this year is trying to focus on me. 2023 is all about me, and one of the things I want to do. As an artist, sometimes you get ideas in the middle of the day and you're like, I don't know what this idea just popped up in my head. And sometimes if you don't write it down, you forget it. So I always keep, 2, 3, 4 notebooks around me where I always can write things down, and that's just been happening a lot for me this year. So I've just been trying to write down ideas, and once I kind of thought to, all right, let's put it together, there was a couple of people that I had in mind, but this person in particular, which is my co-star, Ron Lee McGill, he and I were in a show 10 years ago, exactly, whole decade ago. We were performed at the National Black Theater Festival in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Shout out to NC. And we had the opportunity to perform at the National Black Theater Festival, meet a lot of different celebrities, great experience. But NCCU, the North Carolina Central University, happened to be the only shout out to Bull City.
I knew it was coming, dog.
All right, let me get focused. But NCCU happens to be the only university that was performing that year. So they had a mix of current students, and they had a mix of alumni like myself, and people that were also outside. So Ron and I actually were in this show, and it was a very, very intense, deep show. It had the name of the show was it pretty much was for color girls. For those who know the movie, Tyler Perry remade the play into a movie for color girls who consider suicide. There's a writer by the name of Keith Antar Mason who did a response call for Black Boys. And so it's two different plays, but they combine those plays together, where it's like seven males and seven with female characters. So they
Okay.
put those together. And so Ron and I were in that show, and it was a dope experience. But to go even further, my very first show at NCCU featured as my mother, Ron Lee McGill's mother. His actual
Okay.
real life mother in person was my mother on stage at my very first show at NCCU. And from that day in 2004 or 2005, I've always called her, my mom, just because of that experience we had. And then later I met Ron years later. I knew of him, but we never actually did anything until 10 years later, which was in 2013. So I knew writing the show, I wanted someone who was going to match my level of intensity and also my seriousness with someone who's going to really challenge me. Ron is someone that is great with getting into characters. It's one of the things I work on the hardest because I can't do like the voices like how people can imitate actors and things like that. I
Right.
don't
Right.
possess that. So I gotta find different ways to be able to do that. But Ron is someone who can definitely do great job of voiceovers and imitating different characters and creating things. And I knew having someone like him was going to challenge me. You know me, I'm someone I need somebody who's going to challenge me to make me step up my game, and I knew that he was the perfect person that was going to do it. And I, as they say, shot a shot in the dark, and just say, "Hey, what you doing on this day?" And he was like, I might be doing the show." But I think it worked out where his show was before, and I think he's working on something after. So it actually worked out perfect timing. And to my surprise, he said yes. And I went from there and started just putting everything from my notes together to just construct the characters. And initially, I thought about five, but I think it was easier because some of the one or two of the characters kind of blended in together, and I didn't want to water people down with kind of having the same version. So I wanted to make sure that these were characters that were going to really spark some conversation and dialogue. And
Okay.
so yeah, that's it. I told him, hey, you got two, I got two. Let's make it. He starts the show, I end the show. So that's how it goes.
So what is that process like, man? So for instance, one of my favorite actresses, she plays the voice or played the voice of Huey and Riley on the Boondocks, right?
Virginia King.
And Regina King. So how like describe that process for the people that don't know, like, what is that like being able to not only write for four different characters, right? But to be able to go in and out of, hey, I'm this person, then I'm that person, vice versa. So what is that? How do you mentally prepare for that? And what is that process like? I'm sure that's a lot of work, bro.
Oh yeah, writing is one of the things that I like the least, just because it takes so much time and it takes a lot of work. But I enjoy doing it. I'm thankful for the gift that I have. That came from my mother, watching my mother write, and she's definitely passed that gift on to me. But writing is very challenging when there's so many different art form. I mean, different ways and styles. Like you said, there's so much things we have to look at to draw inspiration from. I'm someone who strangely enough writes from music. Like I can't write anything until I hear the song that goes with whatever I'm writing.
Okay.
So I can hear a song and that song puts me in a mood and I can put a scenario together with that song.
Got you.
So I probably should be doing video like music videos because
Yeah,
that's
that's what it sounds like to me. Hype Williams, like you,
right.
you know what I'm
That's
saying?
how I see it. So even when I write, I have to have music because, like, when I write a character, I have a theme song that goes with them, and I can write from that theme song. And
Okay,
so that's kind of usually my process of writing and putting things together. But then when it comes to actually, even acting in it, you have to create your world of who this character is. Like it starts like what's their name, where they're from, how old they are, what do they like to do for fun, what do their parents do. So by creating the world, you can create maybe what they sound like based on where they're from, what's their background, what's their upbringing.
Mhm.
So when you're doing multiple characters, you have to create different stories for these characters. Sometimes the script will give you certain things. I try to make our script not necessarily vague, but not give all the details, because sometimes when you give an actor too much, they can't really build how they need to build. So I didn't want to put too much limitations as far as on Ron or even myself to say, hey, this character is this tall, hey, this, and this. I just because people would do that, right? And it's like, okay, well, I'm from Boston, so I have to talk like I'm from Boston. But
I got you.
I try to leave it a little more room for to be open for interpretation, to let the actor, kind of take this reins and kind of build that. But yeah, the process really for me is where they're from, creating that what we call a character analysis. So a character analysis would really describe who this character is, where they're from, what they look like, how they walk, what's their favorite song, what do they like to do for fun. And once you create that, it's like the more details you have for that character, the more you can create how they walk, how they talk, how do they act, how do they respond in certain things. If you put them in a everyday scenario, how would they react to certain situations? What's their favorite song? That's usually my process for trying to do it, and I try to be as descriptive as I can, as specific as I can, and try to write 2-3 pages of just who this person is.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then once you do that, then you can kind of go from there and build your world. But it is challenging when you have two different characters, and if they're complete, like if you have a young character and an old character, it's like, okay, well, that's a huge range. If I'm like 16 and I'm like 65,
Right.
so it's
That's a
like,
definitely that's a huge gap. Where you range?
right. So you have to just find things that work, and things that are sustainable. That's the bigger thing. You don't want to get into doing a voice like Regina King is an example. Like, she could sustain those voices for long periods of time if she had to. Sometimes you may pick a choice that may not, you can't sustain. You might have a raspy voice, but you only can do it for a couple seconds. So it's not like on film or TV where you can say, all right, cut. Because on stage it's real live. So
Yeah, yeah.
what you do there, everyone sees and feels and can hear the breathing and everything. So it's just really the process really for me is just trying to create a world for these characters. And even being, the writer of it, I try to even go beyond that. Like, okay, what is this? What is that? What's their motivation? What's their obstacles? What do they want? Just answering those questions. Shout out to the book, The Actor Prepared by Uda Hagen. It goes into a lot of those different elements that we try to create when we're trying to make these worlds for these characters.
And I can just imagine, and I'm gonna bring up a scenario. I know when Michael B. Jordan, right, when he was filming Black Panther,
Hmm.
and you talked about the level of commitment you have to be to envision these characters, and he basically was like, he went into like a deep depression
Hmm.
in order to basically find that character and stay in that character mode, right? What is that like for you? Like, I know you mentioned each character has a theme song like they listen to, right? So
Hmm.
how do you get in the character, get out of character simultaneously on stage? Or, like I said, I don't want to give too much away, you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
But what is that process like to go from here to here and back and forth? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Different actors have different things. You mentioned about Michael B. Jordan. He definitely is tapping into element they call method acting, where you try to get into, like, if your character smokes, right? You would go and smoke because this is a method. That's the method that you try to use. You try to do the things that your character do within that. And then you have a lot of people that will try to tap into, if they have to be a dark character, they try to tap into thinking about things when they were younger, when they lost a loved one. If you remember, Damson Idris uh,
I was just about to bring that up.
on
He Snowfall.
Snowfall, he
Yes,
talked
I was.
about he had to ask the devil to come, which is a little dangerous.
See, it's a little dangerous.
But that's a different thing, right? So that is tapping into a thing that, shout out to Uda Hagen again from Respect for Acting, is a feature or element, I would say, that's called emotional recall, where you can recall something. I remember when I was 6 years old and I got a whooping, or my grandmother died. And it's like tapping in or accessing that. Some actors do that and tap into those different elements of it. like, oh, I remember my aunt died or my grandma died. I was so devastated. They can remember how they felt in that moment and kind of tap into it. I try to stay away from that because it can be very dangerous. Because if you got a multiple shows, if I got 4 or 5, 6 nights of shows, even in our case, we have 3 shows. If I
Mhm.
had to do that 3 nights in a row, by the time we get to that third show, I'm gonna be emotional wreck. So my character's an alcoholic. What if I was an alcoholic? How would I react to certain things? How would I do this? And how would so I rely more on that what if and try to put myself in a scenario. Like if I was an alcoholic, what would cause me to be an alcoholic? Right? What would make me get to this point? What would have to happen for me to be X, Y, and Z? And that's kind of more the elements that I rely on. But to each his own. Everyone has different things they do. Even when people like have to cry on scenes, right?
Yeah, I don't know how you do that. You know what I'm
So
saying? Like
some
so
people can think about when my grandma died, and they can take that 30 seconds and focus on there. So I learned an element
now
called
can you do that? I'm just curious.
yeah, I get paid to do it though. I'm not gonna do it for free.
No, I'm not gonna ask you to do it right now, sir. I'm just saying like
If you come to the show, I'm gonna cry just because Irv requested it. It ain't even no scene that's gonna require crying. I'm just
listen,
gonna add it.
I just want to know if you can do it or not. That's all. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
definitely. So before I think maybe I probably was tapping into like thinking of maybe something sad. I think maybe I would have relied on that. But now I try to focus on an element called soft focus. So you know when you turn on like your camera on your phone and when you first get to something, you're trying to get to something maybe a little bit far, it's out of focus
Yeah.
and then you have to tap on the screen, that lens adjusts to it, or even when you're using the camera, it may always be a focus. So there's an element called soft focus. It's really just taking your eyes out of focus. We do a lot of time. If you ever been doing something, you start daydreaming about something, and you notice
Yeah.
your eyes start getting fuzzy, and you blink,
Mhm.
and then that tear comes out. That's the element of using soft focus. So it's really like
Okay.
unfocusing your eyes will also do that as well.
So I'm asking because like I'm just trying to get some ammunition. So like if me and my wife is arguing, right? I just need to know, you know what I'm
So
saying?
for
Like
you, if you stare at something for about 20 to 30 seconds. Just
okay.
stare. Just
Just
stare
stare.
at that. Just you could be standing at the wall, 20, 30 seconds.
Okay.
You're gonna get that glory tear, the Denzel drop. It's gonna boop.
But
It's gonna be that one tear.
I need two of them.
No,
You know
the
what I'm
one
saying? I need
tear
two
is more serious.
okay.
Because if you do two, everyone does two. One, that means you hurt.
So if I hit her with the stare, she gonna think like he really focused on me,
Right.
but not
Right. So
knowing I'm
right.
using the
If
Jay
you
Weeks.
what's gonna
Okay.
happen is your eyes are gonna slowly start to dilate, right? It's
Okay.
gonna get out of focus.
Okay.
And then all you do when you get to that 30 seconds, do that one blink. Bow. Woo!
Oh, oh man, game
You in there.
changer. Game changer, man. But listen, you mentioned also earlier, man, as far as that we talked about the war between man and woman, you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
spouses or boyfriend and girlfriend. I want to play a clip right quick, okay? And I
Mhm.
want to get your feedback on it and how it correlates to the show. One sec.
Yes.
Most men, for the majority of their lives, don't live for themselves. We live for everybody else around us. Especially, you know, in our community, which is unfortunate to say a lot of times the dad is not in the home. So as a man, a lot of times you become the man of the house at 12, 11, 10. So you're trying to help your mom out, you're trying to take care of your siblings and things of that nature, make sure everybody is cool, and then you actually grow up, get out there in the world, you get a girlfriend. Now you in charge of taking care of her and, you know, making sure she's straight. Then y'all get married, y'all have a kid. Now you in charge of taking care of your kids. So it's just a constant, I'm living for everybody else, making sure everybody else is good, and I'll get around to me when I get around to it. Unfortunately, a lot of times we run out of time on this earth before we actually get around to living for us and doing what it is that we want to do unapologetically.
So what's your thoughts on that, man? He dropped some knowledge, you know, pretty intense feelings that I know for a fact, you know, there's other men out there that have probably experienced those same kind of harboring those emotions, man. So what's your thoughts on that and how it relates to kind of, you know, your play?
No, it's he's spot on. Many times in life and our lives as men, and I'm not just saying it just because I know it to be true from my experiences, but just even from the conversations I've had with my brothers, my boys, the older deacons in the church, pastors. A lot of us feel like that. We feel that we have to do what everyone else wants us to do. We gotta make sure everybody is straight. Right now, if you call any one of your boys, say, "Yo, how you doing?" If they have a family, 99% of the time they're gonna say, "Oh, the kid's good, family good, like wife good, this is good." Rarely will they say, "I'm doing like I'm good." And if they do say something about them, like, "Hey, I'm just maintaining, man, just trying to get to it. It's out here grinding," and that's usually our response. And for he tapped in some elements that are very true. A lot of us were young boys that had to be men very young because we're
Absolutely.
we're the older siblings. So you're the man of the house. And when I was younger, I was like, oh, this is an honor and a privilege, but I think a little bit different about it now. I feel like sometimes it could be a sticky situation. It could be great to have that, but also it adds a different element of pressure on your kids that maybe we shouldn't have. And I don't think that our parents or our mothers went into the intentions of like trying to harm us by saying like you the man of the house or things like that. But it's just some things you just don't know. But I'm seeing a lot of harm that has come from that because you're feeling like I gotta make sure everybody else is good. I gotta make sure this is straight. Gotta take care of this. We live in an age where hey, the people are talking like, hey, the man gotta provide everything. They
Yeah,
gotta make
absolutely.
six figures or better. So the perception is if I'm not doing something financially, I really have no value. And so if that's the perception, no one wants to be the person who don't have no value. So we're gonna do whatever to show that we are worthy of having value. So I'm gonna make sure you good. I'm gonna make sure this is good. I'm gonna make sure that. And a lot of us, we don't even share when we are going through things because what I have gathered, the general consensus is no one cares. So if
Yeah,
you know that no one cares, why even address it? Like what I'm saying is not going to make a difference. It's not like my workload is going to get easy if I share to you, hey, I'm not mentally there. I'm not feeling it. I'm tired. I got to do whatever. But I think many times we do put ourselves last, and in that, you and I have had this conversation several times. I'm like,
multiple times. You know what I mean? It's just
no, you can go out and get it, but if you ain't here, it really don't make a difference. You
makes no
like, I
difference.
ain't never looking about it. I'm like, but that's the reality, and I think a lot of us are faced with that decision of, okay, I want to provide for my family, I want to make sure they're good and do all these things, but sometimes you feel like, dang, does anyone care about me? Does anyone care if like if I wasn't here? Not that you want to kill yourself or anything, but like if I didn't exist, would it affect anyone? Would anyone matter? Would it matter to anyone that they would be like, dang, man, Irvin, I wish he was here or anything like that? Sometimes you had those moments of just feeling like, I mean, people can take or leave me. If I'm at my house, my family don't respect me how we want it to be respected, but you don't get to say, hey, I'm tired or whatever, because on one hand, it's like, you a man, you gotta, you
Got to
gotta
toughen
just
up.
suck it up, tough it up. That's what we're taught. The learned behavior that we've been taught is like, you a man, you all right. But on the flip side, we also get criticized when they're like, why you don't never show no emotions? Like, well, you just told me to man up. Now you want
Yeah.
me to show emotions. So I think a lot of us are conflicted. Like, I don't know what is the right feeling or way to feel, because if I show too much, then I'm weak and I need to step it up. I need to man up. I need to do what's right. But if I don't, then I'm just an angry person where it's like, oh, you need to open up more. So I think when you're put in that situation, it's like, let me just step back and just not even say nothing. Just put my head down, grind, and go get it. And for a lot of us, man, this is a dangerous situation to be in because we're just trying so focused to chase something. And it's like, okay, when do you catch what you're chasing?
Yeah.
It's a never ending goal. It's that carrot in front of us that we're chasing that never gonna catch.
What he said to me, and I really didn't think about this either until I kind of watched that clip. And when he talked about, being the man of the house, right? You go from being the man of the house to now you're out in the real world.
Yeah.
Girlfriend turns into a wife or whatever situation is. Then,
Mhm.
if you're blessed enough, you have kids. So now you're taking care of, a wife, taking care of kids, and we very rarely think about ourselves, right? And not saying that's a bad thing, but do you
It
think
is a bad thing though.
what I'm
But
saying?
go
Well,
ahead.
okay, so for me personally, and I'm sure you feel the same way. I enjoy being a father. I enjoy being a husband, right? But to that point, when do you get the me time to just be like, okay, cool. If I want to go to a movie, I just want to go to a movie by myself.
What
No,
is this foreign thing you speak of, her?
so
Me time?
is that more of a society thing? Like, like society has created an atmosphere where, this is what a man is supposed to do, regardless of whatever the circumstances is. You got to do it. It don't matter if the house is falling apart. It's on you to fix it. You know what I'm saying? If the world is coming to an end, it's
Gotta
your
get it.
job to shield your family from whatever's coming that way. So, do you think that's just like how do we get to that point? You know what I'm saying? Like,
That's just what it's been, man. I mean, the perception has been a lot of times people blame it on like, well, this is how I ain't never seen my mom have to do anything. My father did this. But we got to say it within context. Like that, it wasn't just a situation where he was like, hey, don't work. I'm going to take care of everything. Like it wasn't in that manner, right? There was circumstances and steps that led to that. He might have been out trying to make his dreams come and do whatever, or he may saw those things. But it wasn't just about, hey, he's going out and taking care of things financially. You've been home. It was a partnership. If you really look at like your grandparents or even your great grandparents, if you have
yeah,
them, it's a real life partnership. You ever seen your grandparents like really interact, like really, and how the love they have, and they know he went to work with them blue socks on. I took them black socks out. They have a system for every single thing. They know how to maneuver the kids. They know how to make sure this get paid. They know how to make sure this and that. It wasn't just about you're the person who's going to do this and you're going to, it's not about that. I think now we've lost the context that goes with that. It was other elements to that. It wasn't just the person saying, hey, I'm going to take care of everything. You go and sit out and do whatever you want to do and I'm going to give you money. No, they did something that worked for them. They had kids and make sure the kids were raised a certain way. They did different things. They showed the kids this. It was different steps and different things that went into that versus just saying now. But now it's just, we don't want a partnership. We want to just brag about what we want. I
right.
want somebody who's gonna take care of me and do these things and do different that. But what does your partner want? What do they want? Is that what they want? Are they somebody who wants to go and take care of a whole adult? Because it's like, well, if we both working, why I gotta take care of you? And
I
why is
mean,
my money our money, but your money is your money? So it's just, you just gotta find that balance, man. We're living in something. We're trying to create something that alive that really is not the actual thing of what it was. It just wasn't somebody take care of something and your grandma just didn't work. You think our grandmas was just not working all day?
I mean,
No,
my great grandmother.
no.
Listen, I'm with you. My great grandmother, she didn't have a physical job, but she worked as far as taking care of the kids, the
Dude, they was
grandchildren,
selling
the
plates. They was
grands.
making sure things at the church
Absolutely,
was straight. They was in the community. They
right.
was out there doing fish fries. They was doing part. They was doing all the elements. It's not like these people were just sitting there saying, "Give me money, give me money." That wasn't what it was, man. It was just a different thing. They did a different element of it. Wasn't the traditional financial element of it. But that wasn't the truth for everybody because some people had their grandmother doing that and their grandfather did something different. So it's just we've lost the real meaning of what it means to have a partnership. That's
Okay.
the thing. It's a partnership, meaning working together. Now we just two people that work at the same job and we work in different departments. We ain't partners. We both do the same job of marriage, but we ain't working together. And I think that's the difference. You got to
So
be trying to work towards a partnership.
I'm glad you mentioned that. So I'm going to play another clip. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I want you to give me your thoughts on one of the friends of the program. 1 second, my brother.
What are we doing for the children who don't have a father? You don't think the black woman got a right to be angry when she's been raising 2/3 of the kids by herself for 50 years? And the minute she raised her voice, we say she not humble enough? She had to become masculine to survive the rape, the molestation, the domestic abuse. Are you telling me you can't see how we created that?
I understand that, but she needs
If
to
we
be
was
more
loving
selective.
our women and taking care of our women, do you think she would be like that? That personality has a history.
If she's
What's your thoughts on that on the flip side of it? You know what I'm saying? I know the ladies have a voice as well too, man. What's your thoughts, my brother?
Shout out to Dr. Umar, man. Talk that talk, Dr. Umar. Everything he said is completely accurate. And sadly, those fellas were going into it thinking that things were going to be a certain way just because he was of the male species, and they were probably expecting him to disagree. I'm gonna be honest with you before I even answer. Let me just.
Okay, let's
This
get
is. I know I'm just trying to stay, under the radar, but in my 39 years of living, a lot of the experiences and things that these fellas are talking about now, where they're saying women want this, this, and this, and you can't find this. I have never experienced any of these things in my life. None. I have never experienced where someone was trying to, maybe I don't have enough money. I don't know. I've never experienced someone trying to get me for the money. I've never experienced someone trying to treat me a certain way or because I didn't make this or that. Like, I've never experienced that. And I ain't even no A-list person. I'm probably, if we was in friends in school, stuff, I was like a B. I would be in the B level. I wasn't even top tier, dog. So I've just never experienced some of those things. My always element is, who raised y'all? Like, is your game that weak? Or like, I don't know. Maybe I've been out the game too long, but I have never experienced all these elements that these fellas are talking about, where these women too mean and they talk to us. I have never experienced that. I've never experienced where I felt like, dang, this woman talking to me crazy.
We in the same boat, because I don't think I've ever experienced.
I've
To the
never,
extreme.
never.
And I think a lot of stuff now is more so for what, like you like to we use the word shock value to create a conversation. Because I mean, to be honest with you, man, if I've never ran into anybody that's talked to me crazy like that unless
I
they
never
were
read into
upset.
somebody saying, "Oh, you make six figures?"
Yeah, I never.
I was part-time when I met my wife. We were dating. She never was like, she knew what I made because we worked at the same job. She never was like, "Oh, you out here part-time." Like, never. That was never an element. I just think in that regard, maybe you just ain't where you think you are.
See, I think fellas need to, and I'm gonna speak just on just the clip, man. I think sometimes fellas just need to know like where you are, right? You know what I'm saying? If you know that there's a certain type of woman or female that you're looking to try to attract, you know what I'm saying? Then you have to make sure you're within that, I guess, the realm, I guess. You know what I'm saying? So here's
You
the
don't
thing.
have you don't have to be. You don't
No,
have
I'm
to
saying,
be.
but I know you
I've
don't.
shot my shot and
But
known like I have no chance,
I
and be
know, but
surprised when I get, oh, you do want to holler at
listen,
your boy?
but by knowing that, you can't get upset if
No,
it doesn't happen.
I
You see,
have never in my
so
life
not you
got
though.
mad that someone was like, "Oh, I ain't talking to you." I've never had someone
Look.
like, "I ain't talking to you, weak little boy." Like, never.
But not you though. But what I'm saying is some gentlemen, and apparently these gentlemen have probably tried to shoot their shot, or they've maybe gone into a relationship with false
Right.
expectations, like, hey, I got money, I can take care of you. And then when she acts accordingly, now you're upset. That's what I gather from these conversations. Hey man, you gotta
I've
know.
gathered that you're not making women feel in a certain regard where they let down, where they feel they can be themselves. When women feel like they're comfortable, they're gonna be everything that you want and more. When they feel secure and comfortable in you, they're gonna do and be the people that you desire to have in a relationship.
Right.
But if they don't feel that they gonna be protected, if they don't feel like if we go out and something happened that you gonna make sure I'm good, nah, I'm not about to trust you. But the elements that they're talking about, like Dr. Umar said, it's easy to sit there and complain about this, this, and that. But what are you doing for the little young ones? The young ones out here wilding. Instead of you complaining about the moms, what are you doing to help them? And the answer, sadly, is nothing. We can easily point the finger saying, "Oh, these women need to do better, this, this, and this." But what are you doing within the community? What are you doing with your nieces and nephews? I mean, your nephews in particular. What are you doing with these little boys out here wilding? You ain't taking them out. You ain't buying them shoes. You ain't giving them things for school. So it's easy to point the finger versus to go out and find a solution to what's going on. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to sit there and focus on the reaction. What happened? What was the why? Why did you get to this point?
What was the cause of that?
And I
Yeah,
think
got
that's what Dr. Umar was speaking on. Like, what caused you to be this way? Well, shoot,
Okay.
I'm up here feeling like I'm doing it on my own, and this, and this. Are there elements where people feel like, oh, well, women, they're doing this and trying to not to let me see the kid? And of course, they're one-offs in situations like that. That's every day. But instead of us just trying to look at someone else's situation that's not ours and try to say, "Oh, see, this is how women do. They want you to do it." I don't know. I have never experienced this in my life where I felt like, man, this woman don't want to talk to me because I got 6 figures. She want me to be this. Never.
Gotcha.
I've always been myself. And if it worked for the young lady I'm trying to talk to, Cool, they was with it. If it didn't, on to the next one.
Hey man,
I wasn't
so
online like, man, I can't believe Keisha ain't give me her number. Stop playing.
So man, before we get out of here, man, I just wanted to circle back with you. You know what I'm saying? Because I know we
Mhm.
talked about it before the conversation, the dialogue. What is the main focus, and what is your goal? What do you want people to take away from, the show? What's the one thing? What do you want people to take away from it?
Everything comes from something. I know that sounds crazy. Everything comes from something. Every situation, every circumstance, everything that you've experienced in your life, good, bad, or different, comes from some other element. And that's just the bigger thing, other than just the conversation. Just listen to what your guy has to say. Listen to what your boyfriend has to say. Listen to what your husband has to say. Your father, your grandfather, any of these elements of male figures in your life. Just listen. Sometimes it's easier to just respond and have conversation, but sometimes just let them talk and let them share some of their experiences. A lot of us want to be in a position where we don't even want necessarily someone to give a solution. We just want to be able to have a sounding board
Okay.
to just talk about, man, today I don't feel like doing it. I don't feel like going to work today. You know what? I don't feel like building this outside of my house. I don't feel like fixing this. I don't feel like having to do XYZ. I love my family. I love my circumstance. I love my situation. But sometimes I'm just tired right now. What would happen if we just had the opportunity to freely have a platform to just speak of how we feel? And people hear that and they get scared because it's like, oh, they about to sit there and talk about all the things they hate about women or dislike. Sadly, fellas, we're really not even like that. Most times when you have a bunch of guys in a group, they're not even talking about women at all. They talk about some of the
No.
most dumbest things in your life. Man, dinosaurs was really out here. They was wrecked. Wait, what does that do with anything?
Or we're probably trying to do something to somebody ends up in the emergency room. Like, I bet you can't jump
Right.
off this ladder.
Stupid stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I bet I could throw 5 pieces of bologna on the ceiling. Why would you do that?
Why are we
We're
doing that,
very
fellas?
simple in that thing, but sometimes we're so afraid of what the person is going to say or react that we kind of try to guess for them. And that happens a lot of time in relationships where I know if I tell my wife this, and this, she gonna feel this, so I'm not gonna say it. So we hide who we really are and try to be people that we're really not. Even if you're trying to date somebody and you know that they have certain standards, you may not meet up to those standards. But instead of telling her like, hey, you want somebody to make 6 figures, I ain't at that level yet. You want somebody who's gonna take care, I'm just not there. We're not bold enough to step on our truth and say, look, that's just not me. So I appreciate it. I joke all the time about I've never bought a woman a drink in the club. And they like, man, you never. I'm like, nah, I never did. And they like, wow, like I just never saw the point. For me, it didn't make sense. I'm not going to buy you a drink to have a conversation. If I want to have a conversation, I'm gonna walk up and have a conversation. If me having a conversation involves buying the drink, then again, I'm not the guy for you. I
hear
didn't
that.
go and get mad and say, oh, she didn't want to. I just say, okay, you don't want to talk. Maybe it might be the wrong setting. I'll catch you on the next one.
Catch you on the next one.
Kept
Gotcha.
it moving. So I think we have to be honest with ourselves and speak our own truth. And a lot of us are living in situations and circumstances that we really don't want to be in, but we're really afraid to say that because we don't know how the other person is going to react.
I got you. Before we get out of here, man, I want to play another clip for the people that's out there that's
Yeah.
visually watching this, man. So, your boy J Irv, I got a little bit of pull, you know what I'm saying? So I was able to get some exclusive behind the scenes footage for the people out here in YouTube land. Let me just roll the clip right quick.
Listen, let me talk to you. Let me talk to you. Because I think you forgetting who you are. I think you forgot who you were called to be. You him. You that person. And there's not too many people like you. There's not too many people like you. Talk that talk, George. You shook back. You shook back after you fell off. You bet on yourself. And you wasn't afraid to put the money on the dresser. Woo. Turn them up, George. Turn them up. You wasn't afraid to put the money on the dresser. Because you were protecting what's yours.
For those that don't know, or you could listen to it, but that was some exclusive behind the scenes footage of the rehearsal for an amazing show that's going to be coming up this weekend, man. So just briefly, what was that experience like? Like, I know you was in your bag, and I know you know what I'm saying? So I can only imagine what that environment was like, bro. Like, so what was that? How much fun did you have putting all this together, man?
Man, the rehearsal process is one of my favorite processes because it's the point where you're trying to figure things out. And me having to direct and also act in this can be challenging at times, but I am such an actor at heart that the actor in me always wants to kind of almost do it for the character. So early on, I had to always figure out like how can I step away and not give, hey, tell the director do it. I would do it this way, but the rehearsal process for me and Ron is very. I'm intense, and not in the sense where I'm like gonna go crazy, but I really love acting. I really love the process of watching things come together. And anytime I get an aha moment of, oh, do that again, because run it back, do it this way. And that's usually how I am. I get so like hype, testosterone is flowing, the energy is flowing. I am going crazy. There was elements on there where I had my shoes off. Like I'm definitely intense, and I love the process. And it's one of my favorite things to do when I'm putting together a show is just the rehearsal. I'm the type of person I will rehearse every day, 4 or 5 hours all day if I need to, just to make something come to life. And for me, it's just always about having those light bulb moments. And we've had several moments in that rehearsal where we were like, okay, looking about this and maybe try it this way. And then that actually particular rehearsal, we kind of critique each other. Okay, I like that you did this. I don't understand why you did this. And that really gave each one of us the opportunity to see a different perspective. Like, oh, so this is how people are perceiving it. And so, in that, what we try to do is try to challenge each other, but also try to give elements that's going to take it to the next level. Because you always feel like you at a point, like, yo, I got it. I'm ready. It's good. And then somebody be like, it is, but
Right.
if you did this, it'll go. And that's usually me. My goal was always try to get the most that's going to really tell the story. I'm always intense when it comes to like tell the story no matter what. Tell the story. If you get your lines, tell the story. If you get tired, you see somebody in the audience, tell the story. So that's always my main focus of telling the story and being a great storyteller. And whatever elements we have to incorporate, I might jump off stuff, I might be standing on stuff, I might hang on somewhere, whatever is going to get my story told. That's usually what I am. But that rehearsal was definitely an in-person rehearsal here in Atlanta. With Ron being located in a different state, we have to do things a non-traditional way. But when we do get an opportunity to get in person, it's very like we got to make the most of our time. But yeah, rehearsal that's definitely that's my bread and butter. I love that element of it.
Got you, man. So listen, I want to thank you for taking your time out. I know this is a busy week for you coming up,
Sure.
everything you got going on, man. Let the people know where they can purchase their tickets. Share a link. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have it playing down at the bottom of the video
Yes,
for
sir.
those in YouTube land out there. But just tell the people they can go and
Yeah.
purchase their tickets, or donate a ticket if they want to, if they can't be here. You know what I'm saying? Let the people know.
Yes, definitely. You can go to jweeksentertainment.com. The letter J, jweeksentertainment.com. We're also on Eventbrite. If you go to Eventbrite, type in Just Listen, you will see tickets. Again, our show is Friday the 18th at 8 p.m. Saturday, you have two opportunities to see the show. Saturday at 1 p.m. on the 19th and also at 6 p.m. The 1 p.m. show actually has a special feature, which we're adding a talk back. So you'll be able to give your real life experience, or you'll be able to share elements that you like or dislike about the show. Uh, Keep it real professional though. But no, man, you really get to talk to us one on one about anything that you wanted to share or liked or disliked, or even just more things you had questions about. So definitely we're excited for this show. I definitely want people to go buy tickets. Right now I have, I think, 3 tickets now. So if you message us on B2B underscore podcast, I have 3 tickets that people have donated. So you can just go to the website right now, or you can just, like I said, go to our IG page and say, hey, I need a ticket. I got 3 to give away. Tickets are $30, but because y'all kinfolk, we're gonna do $29.99. It's just
Yeah.
that easy.
Any discounts worth having, brother. Well, listen, man, we'll appreciate it, man. Looking forward to this weekend coming up. You know what I'm saying? I will be attending the 6 o'clock show on Saturday. So if y'all are in the building, you know, your boy, me and my wife, we're gonna be in there checking it out, man, showing support.
Yes,
So
sir.
we appreciate it. And Kinfolk, we will be back for our official welcome back to season 8. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
Next week, man. So we will catch you guys on the guys and young ladies out there on the next one. Until then, y'all stay safe and remember, keep it always black to the basis, people. Peace out.
Yes, sir.